Just a moment, welcome to the Jam Podcast. Just a moment, welcome to the Jam Podcast. Just a moment, welcome to the Jam Podcast. This is the Just a Moment Podcast, where we pause to reflect on life through the lens of poetry and prose.
What's going on, Jam Pod family? Hope you're having a fantastic start to this beautiful day. Yes, the day is beautiful because God woke us up. He woke you up and He woke me up. He gave us another opportunity to shine, to be the star in this movie called Life. So, whether it's raining or it's sunny on your side, let's remember to just be grateful for the gift of life in each moment that we're given. And as we come out of Memorial Day weekend, let this be a reminder not only to rest, but to reflect on the sacrifices made, the freedoms we enjoy, and the purpose, our purpose, while we're still here, what we're still here to fulfill. Now, let me welcome you to the Just a Moment podcast, where we pause. We take a little bit of time out of our day to reflect on life through the lens of poetry and prose. My name is Shawn N. And I am the host of what we now term the Jam Pod, the Just a Moment podcast. I am a poet, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I count it an honor to utilize the opportunities that God allows me to share a thought, a perspective, and some reflections each week. I want to remind you to take a moment to recognize what? That yesterday was survived. Yes. So let us embrace every minute and the seasons that we have. For despite life's challenges, there's always a moment to be glad. So we are going to embrace just a moment every day. So I'm inviting you to subscribe to the podcast so we can take this journey together. And if you hit that notification bell, you will know when the new episodes are available. Please let me know how the episodes have impacted you. We are in season 1 and this is the 11th episode. Remember, always say this is a journey that we are on, and I have been on this journey. Was it easy? Has it been easy? Absolutely not. But guess what? We don't quit. Quitters never win, and winners never quit. Like I always say, oh, keep on chucking. Run on and see what the end is going to be. I am continuing on this journey. I am running on because I want to see what the end is going to be. And so, what's going on with today's episode? We are going to title today's episode That Valley Experience. That Valley Experience. Jumping on the back of last week's episode when I talked about the process to the promise. We are shared how on this journey called life, we have to navigate the many processes to get to the promise. Some aren't pleasant and some are just not pleasant at all. We have to face or endure what's on the journey in order to get to the place where we fulfill life's purpose, where you get to fulfill life's purpose, where I get to fulfill my life's purpose. Now, as I mentioned earlier, some of the processes may find us on the mountaintop. And you may think we have arrived when we are really not there as yet. Some may find us in the valley. And that is what I want to share a thought on today. When as we go through the process, we find ourselves in the valley, in that low place. What do you do when you find yourself in the valley and you become sad and depressed and discouraged? And you want to think that you're in a place of lack, a place of deprivation, simply because you are comparing the valley to the mountain. You think you should be further along. You should be in a different place. You should be displaying a different status. I should have arrived already. I should have achieved more. I should have acquired more knowledge, gotten more wealth. What do you do? Sometimes we think we can only exhibit success when we're on the mountain. That's where our vision becomes blurred to what we have around us as we're in this valley, as we're going through this valley experience. It can become so easy to get caught up in where we are that we forget where we are. I'll say that again. It sometimes might just get too easy for us to get caught up in where we are that we forget where we are. Think about that. Just think about that for a minute. What do I mean by that? We're so saddened because we're now in this low place, this valley. And we start saying, woe me, I'm suffering, I'm struggling. When instead we probably should be saying, wow, me. Because we should be so reliant on inner revelation, the one that comes from God, where we can question and say, God, what brought me here? Why am I here? What do I do? Stop, I would suggest. Again, we're aiming for the mountain and we're thinking we should be on the mountain. And when we get to the mountain, I would say we are looking at things from our perspective because we think we have arrived. But when we're down in the valley, we're looking at things from God's perspective because we know we have to lean on His provision, His protection to survive in the valley. And I would implore you to think about not wanting to run to the mountain too quickly because when we get there, we realize it's very cold up there. It's very lonely. So we have to stick to the valley and learn the lessons. Look around and see what we have as we're going through this valley experience. I've heard the valley gets such a bad rap. I am not the only one who has heard someone say, boy, I'm in the valley right now. Yeah, you're in the valley and you think you have suffered such loss. But if we ponder for a minute, we will recognize that by definition, the valley or a valley is a low area of land between two hills or two mountains. And it says typically there's a river flowing through a valley. Listen to this again. A low area between two hills or mountains. And typically there's a river flowing through a valley. Remember I said, let's look around. We have to assess what we have in this low place, Let's look at what we have when we're in the valley. We have the river. Let's stop right there. You can find your food in the river. You can fish. Come on. You can quench your thirst. There's water to drink, water to keep you clean. A river. Come on, take another look around and you see all this vegetation. Because if there's a river, what does that mean? The place is fertile. You have growth in the valley, vegetation, you have the trees, you have shrubs, you can find fruits, you can find vegetables. Come on. And I'm certain if you eat meat, you can find some animals in the valley as well. The trees, you can make shelter. You can build a house from the resources in the valley. Keep looking. Tell me what else do you see in this valley that you're in? A lot more people. You're not the only one down there. You find community in the valley. You might just come to realize that there are more people in the valley than you'll find on the mountain. That's why the mountain is a lonely place. You have resources in the valley. And that's why I said earlier, instead of talking about woe me as if you are at a place of lack, you have suffered loss because you're down going through this valley experience, pause for just a moment and ponder on what is it that I have as I'm walking through this journey, as I have to go through this process, as I'm heading to my promised land. Yes, you'll find resources in the valley. You're not alone. You'll find a multiplicity of resources down in the valley. Look around you. What do you have while you're in that valley, as you're going through this valley experience? Don't say, whoa, me. Say, wow, me. I can pull on the people in my community. I can share my experience, and someone may say, oh, I've been through that, I've already gone there. This is what you could do. You could call a neighbor in the valley. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? In the valley, community, resources. Is the valley really a place of lack? You know, I've come to notice that each week as I prepare for the episodes, I am hit with this one word. It seems to be a constant: self-reflection. And this episode calls for that again. Assessing where we are. How did we get here? How did we get to this valley? Why are we here? What does God wants me to learn? What is it that He wants you to learn? Ponder on that for this week. And even though you may have all the money in the world, money does not stop life from lifing. The wealthy get sick. The poor get sick. The wealthy suffer lack. The poor suffers lack. Whether you're educated or uneducated, there will come a time in life when you just have to go through that valley experience. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your financial status, your educational status. It doesn't matter your social standing. We all are going to have to walk through a valley experience in this lifetime. Are you willing to stop and see the resources you have in the valley? Look around you. Don't say, woe me. Say, wow, me. You know, we are in the valley, but we are never alone. And we are not empty-handed. For God provides the resources while we are walking through this valley experience. Psalm 23, verse 4. It says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. That's the King James Version. He's right there with you to provide for you in the valley. So don't say, whoa, me, when you find yourself in the valley experience. Say, wow, me. And then pull on God's providence. Pull on his provisions. Pull on his protection and his peace to keep you as you go through that experience. You are not the only one down there. No, there are others who may be going through the same valley experience that you are going through. And some may be going through a different experience, but they too are also in the valley. There's also another thing you must take a hold of. Catch a hold of this. The only place to go from the valley is up. The only place to go from the valley is up. You are going to get back up better and more equipped, right? Because you were down in that valley, you looked at the resources that around you, and maybe you got a chance to acquire some skills while you were down in the valley. You discovered your real strength and your capabilities. And if you did acquire some skills while you're on this journey, now you have them to use to enhance what? Your processes. Yes. You use these skills to enhance the process that you have to take on this journey called life. That valley experience. That valley experience. How are you going to embrace it? How are you going to use it? What will you do with it? What will you learn from it? What will you take away from it? Don't say, whoa, me. Say, wow, me. Look around you. See the resources you have. The only place to go from the valley is up. Yes. Embrace that valley experience. Each week I do a poem just as a reflection, as I said, as the backdrop for what I'm sharing in a particular episode. And today I talked about being in that valley experience and reminded that God was always there with us, walking with us through the valley, bringing us out. I love Psalm 139 that talks about where can you go from his presence? Where can you flee from his presence? If you make your bed in the highest mountain, he's there. In the lowest valley, in hell, the Bible says, there he is also. So he never leaves you, even when you're in the valley. And so today's poem is titled, You Were Here Before We Got Here. God was always here. He's always with us, and he walks with us, and he will walk with us even to the end of time. You were here before we got here. You were here before we got here in the stillness of the night, creating sun and moon and stars by your power and wondrous might. You were here before we got here. As twilight turns to day, clearing the path as you prepared us for whatever may be in the way. You were here before we got here, calling us by name, endowing us with gifts, and saying, as I've loved, go and do the same. You were here before we got here, knowing our end from the beginning. You knew who'd go. You knew who'd stay, but still you say, in me, you'll always be winning. You were here before we got here. You've never left. I know. And after all we've said and done, oh Father, you still love us so. You were here before we got here. Thank God that He walks beside us. Thank God that He's never left us and He won't forsake us. Even when we get ourselves in the valley, even when it's life that throws us in the valley, He was here. He was there in the valley before we even got there. So we're grateful that as we go through this valley experience, God is with us. He's never left us and He never will. You were here before we got here. So I will see you next week on the Just a Moment podcast, the Jam Pod. Remember, new episodes drop on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Just hit that notification bell and you will be notified once the episodes are available. And please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave me a comment. I would love to chit chat with you. Just let me know how the episodes have impacted you so far. We're still in season 1, and this is the 11th episode. Yes, we're taking this journey. We're excited. And Jampod family, please remember to check out our website as well. It's ShawnNgraham.net. ShawnNgraham.net or justamoment.live. And you on ShawnNgraham.net, you will also be able to get a copy or see a copy of the book that I read the poem from. You were here before we got here. This is Be Inspired Again. And the poem was on page 116. So Be Inspired Again, page 116, and you'll see the poem, You Were Here Before We Got Here. Yes. Now remember, moments gone, never come back. Missed moments can never be retrieved. Always remember that. So take a hold of your moments. I am taking a hold of mine. Yes. Let's capture the essence of life. Let's savor every flavor, every bite, every slice. Take a moment to taste the newness of life. Indeed. And don't forget, put God first in all that you do. Be good to yourself and be true to who you are. Be true to whom God called you and created you to be and to become. Psalm 139 verse 7 asks the question, whither shall I flee from His presence? Where can you go that God cannot see you? If you make your bed in hell, He's there. If you fly to the highest mountain, yes, He's there. Even in the valley, He's with us. Cherish the experience because He's always there. He was there before we got there. That valley experience God is with us. He was there before we got there. See you next week on the Just a Moment podcast, the Jam Pod.
Just a moment, welcome to the Jam Podcast. Just a moment, welcome to the Jam Podcast. Just a moment, welcome to the Jam Podcast. This is the Just a Moment podcast where we pause to reflect on life through the lens of poetry and prose.